Tourists arrive in the Bahamas either by airplane, A, or by ship, S. While in the Bahamas, they either take a day trip, T, or do not take a day trip. In that case, we have NT. The probability that a tourist arrives by airplane, A, is 5 over 9. If a tourist arrives by airplane, the probability of going on a day trip is 1 over 5. If a tourist arrives by ship, the probability of not going on a day trip is 2 over 5. Copy and complete the following tree diagram. And so here is saying that the probability, right? The probability that, so it says A, right? So it says the probability that a tourist arrives by airplane is 5 over 9. And so this right here is the probability that the tourist arrives by airplane. That's 5 over 9. All right, so this right here is the probability that the tourist arrives by airplane, which is 5 over 9. Now this one right here is the probability that the tourist arrives by ship. And what is the probability that the tourist arrives by ship? Well, if the probability that the tourist arrives by airplane is 5 over 9, then the probability that the tourist arrives by ship is going to be 4 over 9. And we know that because 5 over 9 plus 4 over 9 is going to give us 9 over 9, and 9 over 9 is 1. And so these two probabilities must add up to 1. And so if this one is 5 over 9, then this one must be 4 over 9, because the probabilities on these lines must add up to 1. So this plus this, when we add them together, must equal to 1. And 5 over 9 plus 4, and 5 over 9 plus 4 over 9 is equal to 9 over 9, which is equal to 1. Okay, so let's say the tourists arrive on airplane, right? What's the probability that they take a day trip, right? Now it says, while in the Bahamas, they either take a day trip or do not, right? The probability that a tourist arrives by airplane is 5 over 9, where they said that if a tourist arrives by airplane, that's this one, tourist arrives by airplane, that's 5 over 9 chance. If they arrive by airplane, then the probability of going on a day trip is 1 over 5. So if they arrive by airplane, then the probability of them going on a day trip is 1 over 5. So that's why we have 1 over 5 here. Now, what's the probability of them not going on a day trip? So if they arrive by airplane, what's the probability of them not going on the day trip? Well, that's going to be 4 over 5. And the reason why it's 4 over 5, because this one is 1 over 5. And we know that the probabilities have to add up to 1. So if this is 1 over 5, then this must be 4 over 5, because 1 over 5 plus 4 over 5 is 5 over 5, and 5 over 5 is 1. So these probabilities must add up to 1. So if this one is 1 over 5, then this one must be 4 over 5. Now, what else do they say? Okay, so this is the probability that the tourists arrive by ship, which is 4 over 9. Now, if they arrive by ship, what's the probability that they're going on a day trip, right? It says right there, if a tourist arrives by ship, the probability of not going on a day trip is 2 over 5. And so right here, they arrive by a ship. So the probability of them not going on a trip is 2 over 5. So the probability of them not going on a trip is 2 over 5. If they arrive by a ship, the probability of them not going on a trip is 2 over 5. So that means that the probability of them going on a day trip, if they arrive by ship, is going to be 3 over 5. And we know it's 3 over 5 because this one is 2 over 5. And these two probabilities have to add up to 1. So if this one is 2 over 5, then this one must be 3 over 5. Because 3 over 5 plus 2 over 5 is 5 over 5, and 5 over 5 is equal to 1. And so here we completed the tree diagram. Let's answer some questions. So it says that calculate the probability that a tourist arrives by airplane and goes on a day trip. The probability that they arrive by airplane and go on a day trip. And so the probability that they arrive by airplane is going to be 5 over 9. All right, so 5 over 9. That's going to be the probability that they arrive by airplane. Right there, 5 over 9. Now, and goes on a day trip. And goes on a day trip is going to be 1 over 5. So the probability that tourists arrive by airplane, that's 5 over 9. and goes on a day trip, that's going to be 1 over 5. So we multiply those two. And so we have 5 over 9. And the reason why we multiply is because they say and. So the probability that they arrive by airplane is 5 over 9. And goes on a day trip is going to be 1 over 5 because that's 1 over 5 right there. We multiply these two. So we have 5 over 9 multiplied by 1 over 5. 5 times 1 is definitely 5. And 9 times 5 is 45. This fraction can be simplified. So we divide top and bottom by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. And 45 divided by 5 is 9. So the answer here is 1 over 9. Next, we want to figure out the probability that the tourist goes on a day trip. Now, there's multiple ways to do this. You can go on an airplane. You can arrive by airplane and then go on a day trip. Or you can arrive by ship and then go on a day trip. There's two ways to do it. So this right here is 5 over 9 and 1 over 5. And that is going to account for, let's say that they arrive by airplane, right? So let's say they arrive by airplane and they go on a day trip, right? That's 1 over 5. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Or you can arrive by ship, 4 over 9, right? That's what we have, 4 over 9 right here, right? Arrive by ship and then go on the day trip. And the trip is going to be right here, 3 over 5, all right? So again, you can arrive by airplane and then go on a trip. That's this one, 5 over 9 and then 1 over 5. Or you can arrive by ship and then go on the day trip. So it's going to be 4 over 9 and then 3 over 5. And now let's multiply. So we have 5 times 1, which is 5. We have 9 times 5, which is 45. Then we have 4 times 3, which is 12. Then we have 9 times 5, which is 45. And so we have 5 over 45 plus 12 over 45. And we add them and we have 17 over 45. So 17 over 45 is our answer here. And that brings us to the end of this question. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.